You can't have more in life until you let go of the fears that weigh you down. You cannot steal second base while keeping your foot on first base. And many people in life want more in life. They want to steal second base, but they still want to keep their foot on first base. Life doesn't work that way. You're a slave to your emotions. You're a slave to money because money represents the false illusion of security. To make yourself lighter, you have to get rid of what makes you heavy, what weighs you down. And what weighs you down is the fear, the shame, the guilt, and all these kind of things. You can't keep all of your old crap and simultaneously create a new life. It doesn't work. I can get people as far down the road as they want to go. You're listening to the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. This podcast episode is titled, You Cannot Have More Until You Give This Up. Most people have it backwards. They've got it wrong. Most people want to hang on to all of this emotional baggage in their life. They want to hang on to all of this stuff, but yet they still want to create more in life. And it doesn't work that way. So before we start the episode, remember this phrase: you cannot steal second base while keeping your foot on first base. And many people in life want more in life. They want to steal second base, but they still want to keep their foot on first base. Life doesn't work that way. So if you want more in life, keep listening. Okay, so the title, You Cannot Have More in Life Until You Give This Up. Most people want more, but they won't give up what they already have. They won't give up what they have in terms of their emotions to create more in life. Don Javier has said a simple phrase to me many, many times over the years, and it's not to me about myself. He's just saying it generically, but he often says you have to let out to let in. And the truth is, and I've been there before, is that many people won't let things out. They won't let things go. And because they won't let things out and they won't let things go, they can't bring new things into their life. But letting out, in the way we're going to talk about it, is giving things up, meaning some more negative emotions. And I'll talk about these in just a moment. But the bigger question is why won't we? Why won't we give things up? The reason why, and this is partly brain-based, is people are afraid to lose what they have. Even when they know they can gain more by losing what they have, people literally will just not reach for more in life. You know, you could even take this to the world of investing. You can tell people, you know what, you invest $1,000 and there's a 90% chance you can make $10,000. Some people will take that bet. I'm one of those people that will take that bet. Many people won't take that bet. Why? They are afraid to lose what they have. People are biologically wired. They're hardwired to avoid risk. And so instead of choosing a path that's going to take us where we want to go in life, we literally will choose a path where we're taking no risk, because if you want to create more in life, there are risks involved. Many times people will choose their old way and their old path because they perceive that as having no risk, as opposed to the anxiety and uncertainty of taking even a small risk and potentially losing what they have, even though they can gain a lot more. Many people just won't do it. So I said when we started is you can't steal second base while keeping your foot on first base. The brain is hardwired that way. And I share that with you so you recognize that is your brain, part of your brain, not your entire brain, because part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, is saying, yes, 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 I want more. But a different part of the brain is hardwired to keep you safe. So we often operate from, if I do nothing different, I mean, I'm already on first base, I'm safe on first base, I'm not going to be out on first base because I've already made it to first base, I will just stay on first base. All the while, we're saying, but I really want to go to second base. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get the second while keeping your foot, or both of your feet, in many cases, on first base. It doesn't work. So let's talk about how this shows up in your life and keeps you trapped. Because I want to make this very relevant to you, because I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that what I'm sharing with you here pretty much applies to every single person listening to this podcast, which, by the way, I appreciate. So I want to go back to 2023, and I want to go back to a transformational coaching session. Now, TCP, as you may or may not know, the Transformational Coaching Program, is a 13-week live program with me. And in this program, basically, I get to know people very well. It doesn't matter how many people we have in the program, as long as they show up. And we've had anywhere from 200 or 300 to 1,000 people in TCP at one time. And when people show up, I get to know who they are, because number one is I coach them literally personally in TCP throughout the 13 weeks, and I get to spend 13 weeks with people. But I want to go back to a couple of years ago, but I see this pretty much in every TCP. But there was one guy in particular back in 2023, and his name was Nathan. And man, oh man, oh man, oh man, Nathan was in so much fear in his life that he wouldn't let go of his past. But it wasn't just fear. Nathan, and this isn't Nathan's fault. Nathan learned this. This is Nathan's conditioning. Nathan learned it from his mom and dad. Nathan felt bad, felt guilt, felt shame about pretty much everything in his life, and I'm not exaggerating. And he was in TCP because he wanted to create more in life, meaning he wanted to go to second base. But no matter, and guys, I've done this 32 years. I am, for the most part, what many people would say, a pretty damn good coach, because I don't just coach and tell people what they need to do. What I do is I do context coaching. I coach people subconsciously, because I know what's going on with people subconsciously when all I have to do is observe them, and they'll tell me everything I need to know about them. But Nathan was feeling bad all the time. He felt bad about when somebody did this, when somebody did that, when somebody said something to him. He felt guilty about things that had happened 10 years ago in his life. He felt shame. He felt all these kind of things. And he was just one big ball of shame and guilt and fear and anger and negativity and negative emotions. And as I said a couple of minutes ago, the interesting thing is, and it's no one's place to judge because many people are like this, these things that Nathan felt bad about, they didn't happen yesterday. They didn't happen last year. They didn't happen, 5 years ago. They happened 10 years ago. And notice what I'm saying here. These things happened 10 years ago. None of it is present in his life today in terms of the physical experience. But what's present in his life today is the memory of what happened 10 years ago. Nathan was judging himself as a less than person. He made a few, what I didn't think were really big mistakes. I mean, some people could think they were big mistakes. I basically looked at them as lessons in life. But he made these, let's call them mistakes. And they happened 10 years ago in 2013. But in 2023, he was still holding on to these things if they had happened, the week prior. And every week, and I'm in the group every single day, but we have a big coaching call every Tuesday and every Friday. And constantly in the room and on the coaching call, I would help him bust loose of whatever was holding him back. And constantly, I heard him saying, Jim, I feel so much better. Thank you. I feel so much lighter. 2 days later, back to the old thing again. Why? Because literally, I would dislodge the anxiety and the shame and the guilt. I would literally separate and disassociate and dislodge these things from him. Not dislodge. Many of us have had or have puppies. And I have a new puppy. He's 8 months old. And as you know, puppies love to chase the ball. So I've got a big, long hallway in my house. It's like 70 feet long for real. And it's tile floor, so I can roll his ball. He's an Aussie Shepherd mix, got a lot of energy. I can roll the ball all the way, really quickly, and it goes all the way to the end of the tile, and he'll run down and get it and bring it back every single time. Well, Nathan really wasn't any different than some of his behavior, because like taking the ball away from my dog and rolling it down the floor 70 feet away, my dog could have said, I'm tired. I ain't doing this. Are you crazy? I'm not going to chase this damn ball all day long. But he will. Nathan was doing the same thing. And many of you, without even recognizing it, you do the same thing. You literally, someone like me can help you disassociate, to let go of the fear, the anxiety, the shame, the guilt, whatever it is, turn my back, walk away, and before I know it, you're back over, and I love this phrase from Don Javier, you're back over bathing in the shame and the guilt. It's like you've hopped into a swimming pool of shame and guilt and fear, and you go right back into it again. And the key is you've got to let it go. You have to let it go, because this person was in TCP because they want more, but it was challenging to get them more, and very seldom, and I mean seldom because I know we have a 100% refund policy at the end of the program. And over the years, we've literally had less than like 0.5% of refunds for all the enrollees in TCP. We even remind them, hey guys, at the end of the program, you've got 72 hours to request a refund. And over the years, we've had less than literally 0.5% of all registrants ask for a refund, which we do immediately if they ask. I can get people as far down the road as they want to go. I can get them all the way to home plate in the metaphor we're using about baseball. Easily, not a problem, really easy. But they've got to let go of keeping their foot on first base. They've got to let go of the fear, the shame, the guilt, whatever it might be. They've got to let go to let in. Because when I say it that way, ponder that for a moment. When I say let in, let go to let in. You know, a metaphor that I used many years ago, let's say that you want to buy new furniture for your home or your apartment. So you go out and you buy all this new furniture. Now, what you do not do is you don't take any of your old furniture out of the living room or the bedrooms or wherever you're going to put the new furniture. You keep all of your old furniture in the bedroom or the living room or the house. All the new furniture comes. New furniture is a lot nicer than the old furniture. But you know what? There's no room for the new furniture. Why? Because you haven't gotten rid of the old furniture. So the point is, you can't keep all of your old crap and simultaneously create a new life. It doesn't work. Now, when I use the metaphor of furniture, we understand that because it's tangible. Meaning, okay, that couch over there is a big bulky couch. And that bed, there's no way I'm going to be able to fit 2 king-size beds in my bedroom, some of you might be thinking. Or my office or whatever. Like even in my office now, it's 17 by 13. I've got a couch in here, a big desk, everything. There's no more furniture and bookshelves. There's no more furniture going in this room because I have no space. So if you want something new in life, and many people come to the podcast and the TCP because they want something new, but some people, not a lot in TCP, but I'm talking to you here in the podcast, some people just absolutely refuse to let go of the old. And that's challenging for me because no matter what I do, which I do, teach them how to create new habits of thought, habits of behavior. I teach subconscious reprogramming. They learn that. People work for months with me on learning and mastering subconscious reprogramming. But yet people will literally just hang on to things and they won't let it go. So as you're listening, think about the things that you want to create in life, whatever it might be, homes, cars, better health, whatever. The reason you're not creating it is most likely there's no room. And there's no room because it's full of the old shit. You got to get rid of the old stuff first. So my request in this episode, examine your life. Every fear, every bit of anger, shame, resentment. Look at these things in your life and ask yourself, what am I holding on to? And when you recognize fully that these emotions are things in the way that we're talking about, this concept, these emotions are the old living room couch that has the hole in it. The emotion is the old bed with, I'm laughing because I had a relative I was staying with. Their mattress in the guest bedroom was like a bathtub. I mean, it just had this dip right in the middle of it. You get in the bed and you roll right to the center of it. And I remember one time when I went to visit, they're like, you're going to be very happy. We have a brand new mattress. And I was like, hallelujah. But they couldn't put the brand new mattress on top of I guess they could, but the bed would be like 4 feet high. They couldn't put the new mattress on top of the old mattress. They had to get rid of the old mattress. Now, this is really simple. Guys listening, you get this. You get this. You understand it. But as you've heard me say before, knowing it and understanding are two very, very different things. And until you come to know and you choose and you agree to release your shame, your fear, your guilt, whatever it might be, no matter how much new content you listen to and consume, it doesn't matter. No matter how many podcasts, no matter how many videos, doesn't matter. You know, I'm very grateful. Many of you listening, I'll see on Instagram where someone will say, what are your top 5 podcasts? And many times, of course, they're following me on Instagram, so it would make sense that I see this. They will say, oh, my top favorite podcasts are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then Jim Fortin, or Jim and then the other 4, or whatever it might be. People that do that, they're doing it because you're into personal development and personal growth. But we don't tend to recognize that growing also means letting go. Even when people enroll in the TCP, I tell them that transformation is about getting nothing new in your life. Think about that. Transformation is about getting nothing new in your life. Transformation is about releasing the old so you can bring new into your life. So as I was saying, and again, I'm grateful that, you know, we've had millions upon millions of downloads of the podcast. I was a guest today on a podcast, and the topic and subject matter was trauma in this podcast. And the 2 people that have a top 1% podcast said, listening to your podcast inspired us to start our own podcast. I was on another podcast recently, a top 1% podcast, and she said, listening to your podcast inspired me to start my podcast. And these 3 people, because 2 people are working as a team, they are impacting more and more people. So I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful that you can assist. But many people listening, they won't do 2 things. And you've got to do these 2 things to go to second base. Number 1, and I've said this, I swear, to Buddha, Muhammad, God, Allah, whoever, the universe. I've said this I don't know how many times on this podcast, is that most people won't leave their comfort zone. And the reason they won't leave their comfort zone is because point number 2 is they won't confront their fears. And I see that over and over and over again. So please, 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 I'm requesting, please listen to me and let this soak in. Doesn't matter what you think, because you have evidence in front of you. And your evidence shows you that things might not be moving in the way you want them to move. Doesn't matter if you've listened to 100, 200, 300 of my episodes, or 1, 2, or 300 of my episodes and 4 other podcasts. Many times these people are just overloading themselves with content, but yet they're not acting on it. So what I'm requesting when I said, please, please, please listen, is you absolutely cannot have more if you won't confront your fears. Because you've heard me say before, and other people have said this as well, everything that you want is on the other side of fear. And you may have heard me say before as well that your fears, candidly, are ridiculous. Now, you've learned them, and they can be brain-based, but choosing to hold them, listen to that operative word, choosing to hold them, you're making the choice to hold the fears. And the reason I say they're ridiculous in the context that I work from in this entire podcast is you're a soulful being. You are a cosmic being. You are infinity. You're never going to die. You're not living, people talk about past lives. There are no past lives. There are simply other lives, because you're only living one life. And that life right now, the bag of skin you call yourself, is living that life, but it's also lived other lives because you are a cosmic traveler energetically. So when you get into your fears, this is why I'm saying they're ridiculous, because all of your fears, these aren't your soul fears. These aren't from your soul. These aren't from the totality of you. Plain and simple, these are your ego fears. And because they are your ego fears, they're finite. They're going to be done once you leave the body. I remember one time, back about 15 years ago, and I don't recall it being related to fears, but the same thing applies. I was talking to Don Juan Matus one time. Don Juan was the mentor to my brother-in-law, Don Javier, the shaman. And Don Juan Matus said to me, stop placing so much attention on yourself. I'll repeat that. Stop placing so much attention. And he did say, stop placing so much attention and self-importance on yourself. He went on further to say, when you place all of your attention on yourself and you place your self-importance on you, you miss the world around you. And that goes to the metaphors that you can't see the forest because of the trees. So when you're placing all of your attention on your fears, you're not seeing the possibilities in life. You're not seeing things you could have, things you could create, things you could be, do, and have in life. Why? Because you're so self-absorbed with your fears, which are ridiculous, because you ain't taking them with you when you leave the planet. I want to go on to say that every fear you have is a soul test. Every fear that you have is something that your soul, you've created it through your physical experience, but your soul is putting in front of you. And your soul metaphorically is just kind of sitting back, arms crossed, waiting to see if you're going to actually cross over the fear. When you cross over the fear, now you're more fulfilled soulfully. You have more personal power, more power. But guess what? If you're placing all of your attention on your ego and your poor me, and I did this, and that happened 10 years ago, and 15 years ago, and 20 years ago, boo frickin' who? I feel bad. People are going to judge me. You're wasting your life. You're wasting the experience that you could have on the planet. So each and every time that you shrink into your fears and you live from your fears, you shut the door on your soul because your soul is wanting to shine. I mean, you're part of an experience here on the planet. Your soul is kind of like, hey, let me come out and play. But Nathan, and even some people listening, they're like, yes, soul, come out and play. All the while, I'm going to slam the door on you. And guess what? You ain't getting out to play. How do you let your soul free so that you can live free? Think about that, to live free, to create the life that you want. Because staying trapped in your ego, as I said, and I don't mean that in any kind of judgmental or mean way, staying trapped in the ego, that's not living. For most people, that is existing. I want to ask you a question, and I want to ask it in a very poignant way that'll make an impact when you really think about this. If I ask you, are you a slave? What do you think you might say? If I walked up to you, whatever your first name is, and I said, are you a slave? Most of you would say, are you kidding me? Absolutely not. I'm not a slave. I have freedom. But many people listening, you're a slave to your emotions. You're a slave to money because money for many people represents the false illusion of security. And when people have security, they're not in fear, so to speak. So they are a slave to money. They are a slave to externals. They are a slave to what other people are going to think about them. They are a slave to being judged. And people are controlled and enslaved by these fears. I do this podcast because I want more for you in life. Candidly, as I've said before, these podcasts, they're a lot of work. This isn't like you're listening to someone doing an interview. I have to curate each and every episode. And I've got to think about, what do I want to share this week? And generally it's from people that are in TCP and coaching with me, things that they will say they're working through and I'm coaching them through. Rather, I like the word mentoring, not coaching. Things I'm assisting them through, I will bring that content here to the podcast. But this podcast is titled Transform Your Life from the Inside Out. Think about that. Transform your life from the inside out. And if you're still trying to create from the outside in, meaning all the externals that keep you trapped, you're working backwards. So what I request you do, because you probably haven't thought about it in this way, is where am I trapped? What fear, what emotions, in particular, what emotions am I trapped in? my fear of not being good enough, my fear of being judged, my fear of abandonment, my past shame, my guilt, my resentment, all these negative things that you might feel about yourself. Every one of these things, they enslave you. Ponder that. They enslave you. So take this to heart and start transforming your life from the inside out. I mean, after all, I mean, that's why you're here, right? And I want to share it in my own language. Until you become a spiritual warrior, you're not going to invite fear into your life. I'm no different than the rest of you, okay? And that we are hardwired for fear. Social fears don't bother me. They just don't bother me. I don't live from the false illusion of security, meaning if I have a lot of money, I'm secure, and if I don't have money, I'm not secure. It's all transient, okay? But what I know is whatever fear that might come up in my life, if I don't invite that fear, kind of like, come on, let's go. If I don't invite that fear and conquer that fear like a warrior, that fear, I live in Sedona, Arizona, and I kind of laugh at this metaphor. We have a bazillion coyotes in Sedona, and it's not safe to have your domestic dogs around coyotes. So even when my dogs go out, I watch them all the time. Even though my fenced-in backyard, a coyote can jump an 8-foot fence. A couple of nights ago, I went over to see my massage therapist. He lives in another part of town, 3 whopping miles away. I was driving back home. I live west Sedona. He lives in East Sedona. And I stopped at the gas station, and there was this really friendly coyote. And this friendly coyote at the gas station, at the pumps, he wasn't like 2 feet from me. He was about 10 feet, but he was circling my car. And it was more out of curiosity. I could tell by his body language, he wasn't about to bite me or attack me or anything. Actually, I think he was at Circle K because he was wanting food, I would assume. And he was very, not afraid. I was the only person there in the parking lot. He wasn't afraid. And I could tell by his body language, he wasn't shy. He wasn't about ready to run away. He was just hanging out in the parking lot. But he circled my car a couple of times as I was gassing up. That's what your fears do. They circle your life until you literally conquer the fear. And the fear might come, and then you might address it a little bit, and the fear goes away. But guess what? Like the coyote, the fear is going to come back and start circling again until you conquer that fear. So we go back to, what are you holding on to? Foot on first base. What emotions, what fears are you holding on to that prevent you from creating more in life, that prevents you from going to second base? Now, if you've listened for any amount of time, you know I have a secret podcast where I go deeper into this. And with this particular episode, the secret podcast is going to be about how to identify your fears before you even get trapped in them and stuck in them, and how to get through them. So if you'd like to listen to that secret podcast, go to jimfortin.com/app and join the Be Do Have Insiders. jimfortin.com/app and join the Be Do Have Insiders. I coach in that room twice per month. I do a live every single week, and we unpack the podcast in there once per month as well. We post a secret podcast in there, which goes beyond the regular podcast. jimfortin.com/app. Your transformational takeaway, I think you get it by this point. You can't have more in life until you let go of the fears that weigh you down. You can't steal second base with your foot on first base. You have to let go to let in. So to make yourself lighter, you have to get rid of what makes you heavy, what weighs you down. And what weighs you down is the fear, the shame, the guilt, and all these kind of things. And I mean this kindly, serious. It's not my job to hurt anybody or beat anybody up. But if you're holding these fears and shame and all these kind of things for decades, you're seriously mismanaging yourself. Explore that. Have the courage, because many times the fear keeps people from having the courage to explore what they need to explore. And even as I'm saying this, many people hear it, but they ignore it because their brain filters it out. Why? Because your brain is designed to keep you safe. And if you confront your fears, part of your brain perceives that as not safe. So what your brain does is it has you ignore the fears and go back from pain to pleasure. Therefore, you stay in a comfort zone that you do not like. You're not creating what you want. But guess what? Your comfort zone is comfortable, even though in the long run, in the short run, the comfort zone is comfortable, but in the long run, it's going to cause you more pain. So what you want to do is go beyond your brain's conditioning, because that's where you're going to find every single thing you want in life. So remember, to have more in life, you have to let out, let go, to let in. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you over on the Secret Podcast or on another episode. Bye-bye.